Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I posted on Facebook the other day a project where I put iron-on this case that I made for my Cricut Bright Pad. And overwhelmingly nobody was interested in my iron-on project. They wanted to know how I made this bag. So I had no intentions of doing a tutorial on this bag, but due to tons of requests, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I made this bag. First of all, I made this fabric is from Joann's, and it happens to be on sale this week. This is October 8th, I think today is. And it is on sale starting today. This is Sunday, so it'll be on sale probably all week. This is outdoor canvas. I chose this just because it's sturdier than a regular cotton fabric. Outdoor fabric tends to be water resistant. It repels water a little bit so that if something were to spill on this, I wouldn't have to worry about it. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to let something soak on it. It will soak in. But this is just a little bit more durable than a standard cotton fabric, but you could totally make this with a cotton fabric. So with that being said, I'm going to go over what you need. You're going to need 2 pieces of fabric for your lining, and each piece measures 17.5 by 15. You're going to need a piece of fabric for your pocket, and I am a very beginner sewer and I'm not following patterns. I'm just making things up as I go, making my own patterns. So what I did was, this is a leftover piece from actually the other bag that I made. Oh, it measures 13 by 16. So I folded it in half on the long side, and then I'm going to turn in the edges and whatnot. So if you only want a small pocket, make it smaller. So however big you want your pocket is up to you. I thought I would do this one a little bigger, and the other one I did it about this big. I thought I would do this one a little bigger and sew down the middle so that I have a side for tools, and I wanted to make sure that my weeding tools could fit all the way down in there so they weren't sticking out. So the pocket size is totally up to you. Next, you have 2 pieces of your lining fabric, which is going to be 17.5 by 15. And 2 pieces of your outer fabric, again 17.5 by 15. This is some of the outdoor fabric from Joann's. And then you're going to need 4 pieces of Heat and Bond, is what I'm using, the Heat and Bond fusible fleece, and they all measure 17.5 by 15. I believe you should be able to do all of this with a half a yard of each of your fabrics, and then you'll probably need a yard of the fusible fleece, or 3/4. I'm not quite sure, but I have lots on hand. But you're going to need 4 pieces of 17.5 by 15 of the fusible fleece. Your zipper needs to be at least, this is an 18-inch zipper. You need at least 18 inches, or if you have 20 or 22, anything bigger would be fine, but at least 18 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is work on our pocket. And again, I am a beginning sewer and I just make up my own way of doing things. So what I did was take a piece of fabric and fold it in half. And I'm doing that so that the top of my pocket will have this nice finished edge right here. I kind of like how that looks. And then I took my iron and I just turned a corner over like 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to press that. And again, I'm not, just like in paper crafting, I'm not a big measurer. I'm winging this. So for all of you professional sewists out there, I have a lot of respect for the right way to do it, but I'm just doing what works for me. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, I'm just folding it over so it looks good to me, just to get rid of that raw edge on the side. Making sure it's straight. Okay. And then I just went to the corner, folded it in like this, so that I have a nice clean edge there, and pressed it again. Same thing on this side, I'm just folding that corner in. So it looks just like that. This is my folded edge up here. Now for the bottom, what I did was fold this up. Press. And I know there's a better way to do a pocket, but this is my crazy method. Then I did the same thing, I just folded those corners up. And you could trim them so there's less bulk. I didn't, to be quite honest. I just went with it. Just got them out of my way. So this is basically my pocket. Now what I did, just because this edge is not going to have a seam to hold it down, I just top stitched right across that folded edge, just to give it a finished look in the bag. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got my pocket all pressed and I sewed a stitch just along that folded edge just on the top. Now I'm going to take one of my lining pieces, make sure it's pressed, and I'm going to place it so it's long side right to me. This is the 17.5 inch side, this is the 15 inch side, and I'm going to place my pocket where I think I want it. You want to try to keep this centered as much as you can. And then I'm going to pin it into place. So double check and make sure that it looks straight to you. I think that's pretty good. And then I'm going to stitch, and I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and stitch right down that edge, making sure that I'm catching all those folded in seams. And I'm going to go right up to this side and back stitch at the end. You will make sure that you do your back stitches because this pocket's going to get some wear and tear and you don't want it to rip loose from the backing. Okay, so now we have our pocket sewn right here. Looks great. And what I'm going to show you, somebody showed me, and I don't remember who it was, but I've seen it on several sewing blogs, the Pilot friction pens. These are just from the office supply section. These are so cool. Wait till you see what I can do with this. So I'm going to take my pocket. So I'm going to take my pocket, and it is 11.5 inches long, so 5 1/4. Is that right? No, 5 3/4 would be the halfway mark. So at 5 3/4, I'm going to take my friction pen, and this only works with these pens, so don't do anything else. I'm going to make a little mark. I'm going to mark it down here. And then I'm going to take my ruler, and this is my halfway point. And I'm going to draw with this Pilot friction pen. So now I've just drawn that. Now I'm going to take this half of the pocket and it's 5 3/4. So I'm going to go, well, I'm going to make a pocket like 2 inches and then 4 inches on this side. So I'm going to measure here, 2 and 4, and I'm going to draw a line. And I'm writing right on the right side of the fabric. Don't freak out. Okay, so now that I have my lines drawn, I'm just going to sew a stitch down here so that I have a big pocket here for my cord. And then I'm going to draw a stitch here and a stitch here so I have some smaller pockets that I can just tuck a tool in, a pen in, whatever I want, and they won't just be willy-nilly in there. But this will give me a guide to sew. Okay, so I've sewn here, here, and here, and now I have a few different pockets where I can put various weeding tools in, or like I said, a pen or a pencil, and I have this big pocket over here for my cord. But what about these red lines, right? Watch this. Gone. The Pilot friction pens erase with the iron. How cool is that? So there we have our lining. Okay, so once you have your pocket done, you're going to take your fusible fleece. There are two sides to the fusible fleece. There is a smooth side and a rough side. You're going to put the rough side facing up, smooth side facing down. Then you're going to take your fabric. You're going to put your iron on the wool setting, let it preheat. Put your fabric pretty side up, the back side of the fabric against the rough side of the fusible fleece. And again, I'm using Heat and Bond fusible fleece. You can also buy this by the yard in some of your fabric stores. And just iron this. It's just going to take a few seconds on each section. You can also use the Cricut Easy Press to do this if you have that set up in your room. Might go a little bit faster. Try to keep your iron, if you have any fusible fleece sticking out, try to keep your iron off of it. You don't want to get that on the bottom of your iron. And again, it just takes a wool setting. I'm just pressing on a Walmart pressing pad, or I'm sorry, I think I got it at Target, but Walmart has the same thing. Just because it's bigger than my Study Buddy, so I don't have to keep moving it around. So you want to go ahead and add fleece to the back side of all of your pieces of fabric. So now we're ready to start putting the zipper in. So the first thing we're going to do is take our pocket piece and an outer piece. You're going to lay your outer piece pretty side up, and if there's a direction, which I kind of think this is the top, you're going to put the top up away from you. You're going to take your zipper, put it zipper pull side down. You're going to line that up just like this. Okay, now, very important. This is your pocket piece. Make sure your pockets are facing up. The opening of your pockets are facing up. Flip it over. Again, my pockets are facing right here. They're towards the top. Now we're going to line all this up just like this. And you're going to see, looks like I cut that piece a little bit bigger, but that's fine. We'll trim it up at the end. And you're going to line all these up and use your clips, pins, whatever you want, but keep everything lined up. You want to make sure that zipper is right up flush with the top of your fabrics. If you're using a bigger zipper, it's going to hang off the edges. That's great. I actually prefer that. I think it's easier. Now you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew right along this edge. I like to go about halfway in between the zipper and the edge. You can feel where the zipper is. Make sure you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, so now I've sewn my zipper into place. You're going to open it up like this and fold it out like this. So the zipper and the lining fabric, your zipper sandwiched in between, and we're going to pull these fabrics nice and taut. And then you're going to press it right along this zipper. Okay, so once you have pressed this down so that you're sure you don't have any puckers, you're going to go and you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to top stitch right along this edge so that you catch all three pieces of fabric, the outer, the zipper, and the lining. And as you're sewing, keep pulling it taut so that you make sure you don't get any puckers in there. So now we have a top stitch right along the top that's holding all three pieces nice and flat. Now we're going to repeat the same steps on the other side. You're going to grab your other piece of lining, or I'm sorry, your other piece of outer fabric, if it has a direction, make sure the top of the design is away from you, facing up. You're going to take your sandwich zipper side down. Again, we're lining up the edges of the fabric. Perfect. And you're going to take your other outer piece and put it pretty side down. Just like that. Line everything up, make sure your edges are lined up, make sure your top's lined up, and you're catching all of the pieces of fabric and the zipper. And go ahead and clip it. Now you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and sew again, just like you did on the other side, right down the edge of the zipper. Try to keep the same seam spacing that you did on the other side. Unfortunately, my camera battery died, so I missed the recording of the top stitch on the second side of the zipper. So you want to run a top stitch along that left side of the zipper, just like we did on the right side. Going in the middle, if you turn it over, it looks like this. And now we're going to start putting the bag together. So what you're going to do is take the two right sides and put them together, and the two outsides and put them together. So hopefully you can see that. Here's my zipper. All right, so I'm going to turn it this way so that you can see. Here are my two lining pieces, and I'm going to line these up. Starting at the zipper, I'm going to put the tails of the zipper down towards the lining, and then I'm going to line up the seam right here at the zipper and work my way down and clip or pin. Again, I'm lining up these edges. Keeping this taut and working my way down. Start from the other side, put the zipper tails down, match the seam, and clip. Then you're going to clip across the bottom, and you're going to turn it around and clip your front pieces together. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is my lining side. I've got this all pinned, and I'm going to mark this up here. I'm going to leave about a, 4-inch opening. And I'm going to put 2 pins in. That's going to tell me where to start and stop sewing. Okay, now before you go any further, open this up and open up your zipper at least halfway. I've got mine almost all the way, but open up your zipper at least halfway. Okay, now fold your outer pieces together, turn it around, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to line this up and clip. Okay, so once you've got, this is my outer fabric, it's clipped all the way around. If I flip it around, this is my lining fabric, it's clipped all the way around with 2 pins right here, no clips in between. That's just going to tell me where to start and stop sewing. So what I'm going to do is start sewing at one of the pins. I'm going to sew here, I'm going to go all the way around. Go all the way up here. When I get to the zipper, I'm going to go back and forth a few times over the zipper. I'm going to continue, sew down here, down here, around, same thing up here. Get to the zipper, go back and forth a few times, sew back here, and up here, and stop. Make sure you backstitch at the start and the stop. Okay, so now I've sewn all the way around, except for between my pens, all the way around and around. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and trim off your edges. Make sure you clip your corners as close to the seam as you can without cutting the seam, and just trim up those edges. Okay, once you get to your zippers, don't use your fabric scissors. Take another pair of scissors and you can cut right through that and just pitch that. Again, make sure you don't cut through your seam. But go ahead and trim those zippers off. And now you can go to your pinned in, and you can tell when I trimmed, I didn't trim around here. I want that fabric so that I can close this up easy. I'm going to remove my pins, and now I'm going to turn this around, and because I left that zipper open, I can reach through this hole all the way through to the other side, and I'm going to grab a corner and start pulling this right side out. Just take your time. This way you want to make sure you backstitch where you started and stopped so that those seams don't come undone. Just work it right side out. Once you have it right side out, put your hand back through that hole, go to your corners, and make sure they're pushed all the way out. You might want to use a chopstick or a bone folder or the eraser end of a pencil. Just make sure those corners are pushed out. All right, and now we're left with our lining, and get this other corner pushed out. Finish unzipping it. Got to push out your top corners as well. Okay. So now you're left with your lining, and we have this hole that we need to take care of. So I'm going to push my lining holes out, or corners. All right. So now that is all wrong side out. Well, it's right side out, but the lining is outside, which is what we want. Okay. So now you're going to take this, and it's just going to naturally fold in on itself. Got some threads here. Need to remove. So you're going to take this and fold it. It's naturally going to fold in. And now we're just going to run a top stitch right along that edge to close it, or if you want to just make it look neater, just run it all the way down. Just make sure you catch that fabric. So now you can see I ran a stitch all the way across that, and my seam is closed. Now you can tuck the lining back inside the bag. Push those corners into place. Pop your corners out on the top. And you've completed your bright pad case. It should slip right inside. And You've got a little pocket inside. You can put your cord and your weeding tools. They'll fit right in here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.